Fight on, Trojans, and fly on with ONT. Ontario International Airport is a proud sponsor of our USC Trojans. Visit SoCalSoEasy.com to book your journey through ONT today. And when you've got good beer and good vibes, it's all Buena. Stone Buena Vesa Salt and Lime Lager is Baja-inspired, imported from San Diego, located near you at fine.stonebrewing.com. Cheers. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown. Keely Orr, we missed you this week.
Hello, I missed you guys.
Keely was under the weather, didn't join us up in Eugene.
First game I missed since 2016, might I add. It was weird. It was really weird.
Yes. It must have been weird to watch it. I guess that's my first question. What was it like watching it on TV? It wasn't so great in person.
No, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it wasn't a great game. I mean, I think people were tweeting this at the time, but it looked like a game between two teams where one program had been recruiting in the trenches well for several years or a decade, and one had been missing on the recruiting trail. And you couldn't outpower that. It just looked like the trenches were where it really came down to. But it was frustrating because it highlighted something that I've just noticed the last several games. These top teams that USC's played, Washington and now Oregon, they looked beatable. Like these were teams where USC could be on top and they just couldn't get it done. So it's kind of frustrating to watch at home because I think you can see it more clearly than from the field, but definitely a frustrating one, I'm sure, for Trojans fans.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a good point you make. That team was inherited from Mario Cristobal, and I saw a graphic the other day that had Oregon and Miami as two of the top 5 offensive lines in the country. He was very good at that. They inherited a lot on the line of scrimmage. I'm not entirely sure that there's more building that needs to be done here at USC in that regard. Sean, that seemed to be your real takeaway from the game when you were talking to Coach.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it kind of just popped on the film, right? You watched one quarterback sit there in the pocket and kind of go through his progressions and do what he had to do, and you watched our quarterback kind of just wing it a little bit. He had to figure out a lot, but bullets were coming fast. And I thought Max made a great point with Coach about if you win some of those close ones and it feels a lot better, but now you kind of got to rip that Band-Aid off, right? And you got to really what really happened here, what really transpired. And if you had wins, like Max said, you might have not done that as much. So I think it's a good opportunity here to really self-evaluate what went wrong this year, how can we fix it, where we need to go about doing that, as opposed to getting those wins and then you feel like, oh, we're just a little bit away, when in actuality there's some monumental moves that I think that's got to be made to get this thing really in the right trajectory.
There's also some moves that may take some time, and I know that nobody wants to hear that. That's the last thing anyone wants to hear. You can acknowledge it. You can look in the mirror. I like, just taking offensive line, for example. I look at Alani Noah. I look at Elijah Page. There's some big bodies on that USC sideline that clearly aren't ready yet. But physically, you're like, okay, that's closer to where we're looking. It just may take time. That particular area is not the quick fix that, on both sides, is not the quick fix that, maybe getting a Jordan Addison was at wide receiver.
I think what we're all getting at is the transfer portal can be a great supplemental factor to building your roster, but you still have to get it done at the high school ranks. And I think Oregon's the perfect example of that, right? Mario Cristobal recruited a high-level defensive front-wise, and they're able to go get Taimani from Washington. They're able to go get Jordan Birch from South Carolina, but it's not they're getting all 7 dudes from other programs, because even if those guys are skilled from a culture standpoint, I think, and maybe USC was guilty of this past year, is you get guys that are coming out here thinking, oh, this is great. I'm playing with the Heisman Trophy winner in Sunshine, LA. This is going to be great. We're going to win a championship. But you get punched in the mouth, and I think there's something to be said about, going through these struggles to reset and say, hey, no, this is having these young guys experience this frustration that hopefully 1 year down the road, you're, reaping the benefits of that experience.
And it underscores why we were so surprised by last season. It wasn't supposed to be like it was last season. It was incredible. And that's why we were so shocked, because this is kind of more the reflection of reality this season. You can't outpace recruiting. You have to have those layers that are slow, like you mentioned, Jordan. It's not fun. You got to do it for several years, and you got to have depth, and this team just doesn't have it yet. And that's just the hand that Lincoln Riley was dealt with. Like, there's only so much, like you said, what you can do through the transfer portal.
Yeah, not play 9 straight weeks. When we were at the beginning of it, we were like, oh, great. We love football week in and week out. At the back of that 9 straight weeks, you're out there with Mekhi Lemon at corner, and you're going, man, would have been nice to have a bye week a month ago. And he's not making any excuses, but hopefully that'll get figured out going forward. But this idea of your bye coming at the end of the season is not particularly ideal when, your depth is just getting hammered right now.
Yeah, especially this time of the year, every team is not feeling great. But like you said, you watch the game and you see Justin Dietrich go out, and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? How are we going to plan those things? Because, I think we're also talking about like. At some point, a team has to go through this hard, like, scars. And coaches mentioned this year, you have to, that scar building on a team, and I think particularly like at the offensive line position, I think of a group of guys who just hang out together and around each other, and something to be said by, you try to go out and get the right pieces and plug them in, but without those kind of scars and that tissue to kind of meld you together when it does get tough, it can kind of, I think it's easy to kind of pull apart. So a lot of that, I think, is, like you said, it's just time, and it's going to be painful for a little bit, and you gotta feel those scars in order to move forward, I think.
I think the hard thing, Keely, you have such a pulse of the fan base. The fans have already been scarred.
Yes.
So this is the balance. This is the push-pull that I see when I look at social media or talk to fans. It's like they've been through the ringer for a decade now, and so they're lumping this in. But to your point, Sean, this team is only 2 years old. This project is not even 2 years old. Separating those two things is sort of the problem. They're not looking at it. They weren't here before. They don't know about those problems. But when you see the fans, it's let me bring back a dozen years of scars, and that's the hard part, I think.
And that just goes to the point even more that the instant gratification of last season makes it harder for you to understand that no, it has to take time. Like, this rebuild is going to take time, and so you have a Heisman winner that can cover up a lot of issues. What's that going to look like next season? It's going to take time, and I think in the world of instant gratification, when you have last season as well, fans don't really want to hear what you have to say because it sounds like excuses, but in reality, like, you guys have done it, you've seen it, like, it takes time, but hopefully patience is key.
Well, the good news is, I think Coach said it, having UCLA is the best, tonic right now. You have to go win the game, but it's the cliche is, you throw the records out. Well, this is the kind of game you kind of want to throw your record out and just sort of play the game. And you guys have all played in this game and been a part of this rivalry. It is just sort of a standalone, and they'll treat it that way.
And I think for USC fans, it's interesting too. Coach, the first thing out of his mouth was how good this defense is.
Yeah.
First-year defensive coordinator, a young guy, had not been a coordinator before. His dad is Anthony Lynn, former Chargers head coach, and it's a reminder for SC fans. We'll see how Coach Riley approaches this coordinator hire, but that dude is one of the hottest names defensively in coaching right now. He chose to Chip Kelly to go not the splash hire route, not the older, more established guy, and reaping the benefits of that. Now it'll be interesting to see how Coach Riley approaches that in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say steal him away from UCLA. That's why I laughed. I was like, oh, maybe you are. Okay, never mind.
Hey,
sorry, Sean.
Never know.
No, I just think it's interesting that UCLA, they lost their quarterback last year. It's kind of almost looking into the future of USC a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. They lost their star quarterback, and yet they get another defense coordinator. Now, hopefully USC can figure out the quarterback position, but it's kind of like, well, you can make that move, and you can get the defense on the right track, kind of.
Trojans Live is sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC football. One final segment to come on a Monday night at Trojans Live. One final segment of Trojans Live on a Monday night of USC-UCLA week. Big Crosstown Showdown at the Coliseum on Saturday, presented by I Trust. That game will kick off at 12:30. Our over-under is presented by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC Athletics. Well, you guys have gotten to see some Heisman candidates this year. One of our own, the last couple of weeks at the very least. This is an easy one. Over-under 1.5 Heisman finalists from the Pac-12. I found out today that they have locked it at 4 Heisman finalists. So it used to be a moving number, but Katie Ryan told me it is 4 now. So a 1.5 Heisman finalists from the Pac-12. Over or under?
Over.
Yeah, I was going to say that's.
Got Nix and Penix.
Thanks for the easy one, Jordan.
You think they're both locks?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What J.J. McCarthy is he?
I think J.J. McCarthy has a very good chance. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has a very good chance. They're both going to have some huge games late. I think Jaden Daniels is the stat candidate. Obviously Caleb maybe has a chance of being a finalist. I think wins and losses probably hurt him repeating. But, yeah. Everybody over?
Yes, sir.
I could very well see the winner of the Pac-12 championship, assuming they both take care of the Beavs, being the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, I agree with you. Trojans Live is a production of USC Sports Properties and Playfly Sports. Our executive producer is Drew DeHart. Our producer is Rick Cutler. We've got Ben Conroy here,
Let's go,
keeping
Ben.
us on time. Thanks
Way
so
to go,
much,
Ben.
Ben. Who we got
Hey,
back in the
Ben.
studio? Herman? Hey, Herman. Have a good Monday. To everyone out there, hey, hanging there with us, Trojan Tailgate Show on Saturday, our last live one from the Coliseum. Enjoy it. We'll be on YouTube. Fight on, everybody. Thanks so much.